Hey, I'm Connor Nielsen.
And I'm Spencer Nielsen
of CS Reviews. You know what I really love? A good movie.
And today is day 4 of Horror Week. It is the day prior to Halloween, and Connor and I are reviewing one defining horror movie from each decade, starting from the 1950s and ending on the 1990s. And today is the 1980s, and we chose
Wes Craven's classic nightmare slasher flick, dead teenager, whatever you want to call it, A Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Robert Englund, John Saxon, written and directed by Wes Craven, and he even has Johnny Depp in his very first big movie.
And boy does it show.
So what's the plot?
Oh, the plot is a very interesting and smart premise. It's about these 4 kids that all live in the same neighborhood in Elm Street, and they all have this dream about this creepy man in a green and red sweater and long fingernail claws on his right hand, terrorizing them in their dreams. And they think if he kills them in their dreams, they will die in real life.
Yeah, that sounds good. What do you think about this movie?
I think it's a very entertaining piece. I really liked how it's just a fun Saturday night scary movie. It has a good camp factor, but doesn't.
It's not Adam West Batman.
Yeah, it's a good B movie, but it doesn't categorize itself as a B movie.
Yeah, it feels like a big budget B movie.
It's campy enough, but it doesn't degrade itself. It's a kind of a low. It's a good 8 feature film that just has a lot of B movie elements to it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think the special effects. I know we don't add or subtract a score due to special effects, but they were very innovative, and I liked them. Especially where even if I do find it a little cheesy, where Freddy's goes through the wall,
I personally didn't find that any of the effects very cheesy. I found them very entertaining, and I found them very innovative, and I was intrigued by them, and it made me, look at that and say, dude, I want to make effects just like that for my, if I ever make a horror movie, I want to make it just like that, have it look like that and make it all, surreal, and be very kind of spooky with it, instead of, ooh, well, if you press 0111000010 and then boom, you'll have the effect. No, I was intrigued by the special effects.
I was very intrigued by the special effects too. It's just that sometimes I felt they were just a little cheesy, and that kind of goes to my main cons. My cons about this picture: it's dated, and it's not timeless as a lot of people think it is now, in my opinion. Movies like Psycho and Halloween are very timeless movies. You can relate to them no matter how old they are. Even if, the technology in Halloween is a lot less advanced than it is now, the chill factor is still the same. This movie, I felt a lot of the effects were, not the effects, but a lot of the
elements?
Yeah, a lot of the elements and everyday things felt dated. For instance, this movie could have been over within half an hour if they had cell phones. Just saying.
Okay.
I'm just using a example, I guess.
Okay. For what I liked, you say that, yeah, I like the effects a lot. It's not just mainly the special effects. I like the makeup effects a lot in this movie, especially on Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger. And yeah, his makeup, I really enjoyed it. Because all his scenes take place in dreams, they made his face very interesting. It didn't look like a burn victim. It looked, it looked too...
Well, it did, but...
I mean, it didn't look like a real burn victim, but it looked like he had been burned, but it's exaggerated from what's real, kind of like a dream, it's
But to an extent.
Yeah, it's exaggerated, but it doesn't feel like a cartoon. And
yeah.
If it was handled with today, and if it had been made, it would have either been too burn victim stiff or just goofy. And I liked how they found a medium. And branching off of my the makeup effects on Krueger himself, I really enjoyed a lot. unlike he wasn't your Michael Myers, walk, 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 don't talk, slash, slash. And, not anything against Michael Myers. He was very innovative for his time. But once everyone started ripping him off, then, Wes Craven gave Krueger a new kind of depth. He had a personality. He had a character. He, fed off of their fear. And he was just... Even though I do felt he was overexploited a little bit, not even in the pop culture, but in the movie itself, they just kept relying on Krueger's character, kept on relying on him, and I felt that they could have easily found something else to try to make it scary, but instead they figured, it feels like Wes Craven thought that if they just had, him around the entire time, he'd be scary, and he was for most of the movie, but then, they just kept relying on him to, be this Mr. Spooky, but... I felt he might have been a little overexploited, but he was a very good villain, and I think he's a very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed Krueger too. I thought he was a good bad guy. And he had a personality. He had another depth to it because they were always like Jason Voorhees, just a rehash off Michael Myers, and this was very innovative. I liked it. Was they took risks.
Yeah.
This may sound a little... This may show my age, but some of the kill scenes were actually pretty sweet. Death by bad.
Priceless.
Good job, Craven. Good job.
But you say that, drawing a blank, what did you say?
The kill scenes were...
No, before that.
It was very innovative.
Okay, I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, so sorry, hey, we always forget some things. What didn't you like about it? Oh, no, wait. What I did like also, the premise. It's innovative. You said taking risks. Talking about taking risks, they took risks. It didn't always, pay off, but at least they took them, and they weren't playing it safe. They were really going all out with this, and that's what I really liked about this movie. I like the premise a lot. This premise could have flown or sunk. It flew. The premise did, but even
it soared.
Yeah, it soared. So, yeah, the premise was good. What didn't you like about this movie?
It felt dated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I felt that, it has its place in history. It deserves its recognition. I think it deserves most of its praise because, it's good, but for its time. It's not as timeless as movies like Psycho or Citizen Kane, or Citizen Kane's not horror, but it's still timeless. Or I call it the It's a Wonderful Life effect.
Yeah.
It wasn't as timeless as it is.
Or a lot of people think it is.
As a lot of people think it is, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, the people who grew up on it will always, relate to this. But, for the new generation of people who are watching it, who are not going to be surprised because everybody knows about this movie and everybody knows what he looks like. Everybody knows what the dream sequences are like. Everybody knows by the time they're old enough, that they're probably going to watch it. Everyone's going to know everything about it, and so,
that's what ruined Halloween for you.
That's what ruined Halloween for me, and it kind of ruined this, except I didn't know as much about this. But these, independent movies with Halloween and this kind of bigger budget one, they're just these classic, 80s, 70s, 80s, kind of big budget, popular now. They're still popular, that a lot of people from that time were shocked by, aren't as shocking as they are today because they're overexploited, and that's what bugs me a lot. But, even excluding that, it does feel dated. It feels like a time capsule.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how this movie felt for me. It felt like a time capsule. It was... Yeah, it was... not all the plot elements hold up. A lot of the dialogue is really kind of awkward. It doesn't hold up for some reason. There's something about it that doesn't feel timeless, and maybe it's because they were kind of trying to set the mood for the 80s, and there are a lot of movies, 80s movies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Everyone can relate to that movie. It's a very relatable movie for teenagers. People can always, even new generations can go watch that.
Well, that's John Hughes. He is the king of making teenagers.
Yeah, but every time I think of the 80s, I think of '80s movies I associate with John Hughes, because it kind of have the same kind of cinematography. They're all kind of shot the same way to me.
They all have a timeless feel to them.
Yeah, they all kind of have that timeless feel, and I was kind of expecting this. It kind of had that, but it felt dated.
Yeah, it fell flat in some of those elements.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any closing comments?
Not really. Any closing comments for you?
Just the ending is something that really bugs me. It was... I know it wasn't Wes Craven's original intention for it to be ending, but it feels random and unexplained, but not in a good way.
And rushed.
Yeah, rushed. Oh my goodness, rushed. But I know they were just trying to set up for a sequel, but personally, I don't want to watch a lot of A Nightmare on Elm Street sequels. I just want to watch the original, has its nice, originality to it, and just kind of end with that. They could have had a mysterious ending, but this just felt
like Halloween.
Like Halloween, yes. It's a boogeyman factor to it.
Yeah.
And in this, it just kind of feels rushed and
pretentious.
Pretentious, like the director didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And one last closing comment would be, tomorrow is the last day, Halloween week, and it's going to be Halloween tomorrow, and the final movie, the one we're going to do for the 90s, is the movie that added a psychological realism to horror movies and broke away from the slasher genre while still having some elements to it.
Yeah. So what would you give Nightmare on Elm Street?
I'd give it a 7 out of 10.
I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. Yeah, I just felt it was a little dated, but it still kind of is very entertaining. You just kind of watch it on Saturday night if you have nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Well, until tomorrow, I'm Connor Nielsen, and I'm signing out.